My name is Hamid Madavi. I'm a Team HeartBrother member. Larry Williams was a dear friend, and I got to be careful so I don't get a little emotional here, but have tremendous memories of him, and I'm sure everybody else does here. But it's a privilege and an honor for HeartBrothers to be able to recognize one of our own. So thank you all for joining us. Just for those of you who don't know us, we are Team HeartBrothers, where all of us are patients. And we basically, all of us have had heart transplants, and we've dedicated our time to give back to the heart failure community. Our mission is to help and support heart failure patients and their loved ones navigate a life with heart failure and all its challenges. I'm going to just do a quick thank you of all our sponsors who, by their generous donation, makes all the things HeartBrother does possible. And a quick review of our calendars. We have monthly virtual patient support groups. It's the second Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. We routinely have 8 webinars focused on heart failure. Our next webinar, May 19, it's going to be heart failure and the transplant journey, the caregiver's perspective. And on August 1st, we'll have our 6th annual Guston Golf. October 2nd and through the 10th, we're going to have our 3rd annual Member for a Day golf auction. And then on October 28th, that's a date change. It was in September, but we moved it to October. We're going to have Friendly Feud 2. And then December 1st and 2nd, we're going to have our 8th annual Team HeartBrothers meeting. So a couple just housekeeping items. Please enter full screen for higher quality viewing. And use the chat feature to make comments. Use the Q&A feature to ask questions. But if you when we go into speaking, just please enter your name in the chat, and I'll make sure that everybody gets called upon when we're talking and telling stories about Larry. And this is just an explanation on the chat. When you can send a message to all panelists, or you can send it directly to anybody any of the participants. So there's a pull down menu with chat. So those of you who are heart failure patients, who I know Larry was directly in touch with you, please email your contact information either to myself or to Kylie Reese, because so I can we can have your information and keep you appraised of other events that HeartBrother's doing. And we'll have some special guests tonight. I want to honor them and recognize them. Susan Sartini, who is Larry's spouse, the extended family of Larry Williams, Pat Sullivan and Bob Romer, who were the co-founders of HeartBrother, Mike Ashworth, who him and Larry were brothers. I mean, literally, 2 brothers from a different mother. And thanks, Mike, for coming. And the nurses and doctors from Tufts Medical Center, who over the years took great care of Larry and had a special bond and relationship. And just a quick reminder for those of you, again, heart failure patients, available resources. You can either go to HeartBrother House or heartbrothers.org, or you can reach out to us through Facebook, our website, Twitter, or Instagram. I'm going to share a couple pictures of Larry to bring back some memories and sort of get us going. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to ask everyone, I'll stop sharing the screen so I can see everyone. Just please either raise your hand or message me and I'll call on you and say anything you want to say about Larry. Our goal is to share memories, to honor him, so we'll do that. Here's Larry this is when we were the opening of the HeartBrother's house. There's Larry having fun with some of his friends. Here's Larry with Lynn Sylvia. I do not know the name of the other lady. And I don't want to make a mistake by guessing. Larry had a phenomenally close relationship with the staff at Tufts, and they were very, very fond of him.
That's Caitlin Didania. She was my partner, or she is my partner. So that's Caitlin, the pharmacist who also took care of him.
Thank you. And then here's Larry with a number of the other staff at Tufts. I'm not going to guess I'm not going to try to guess who they are. I think the person at the end is
Lauren Keefe.
Is Lauren Keefe. The
Gretchen Duffy. Dorothy DiDomenico. Larry. Amanda Vest. And
Caitlin.
yes, that's who that is.
All right, great. Thank you, Mike. This is Larry. I think this is the younger days of Larry. Susan, you can comment. And
that's at Mike's house.
that's at Mike's house. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the dog. Is that Lily?
That's Lady.
A lady.
Yeah.
Lily's about twice the size of Lady.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he loved those dogs.
that he did.
Here's Larry when he was a Pratt. I think this is Pratt 8 when they had a visitor dog come by and.
It is, yes.
That's Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, excuse me. Yes. Yeah. Hello.
That's a cute puppy.
Yes, me too. Yeah. Yeah. That's what the service dog.
Okay, let me.
You were saying service dogs.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks. That was Pat. He's having difficulty getting on. So let me just email him the link. So just bear with me for a second. I apologize.
No, go right ahead.
Hamid, I'll do it. Never mind. You go on. I'll take care of it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. This is Larry.
That's the house. That's the toaster.
Yeah, that's in our kitchen. I used to tell him not to do any thinking, but he looks like he's thinking there.
He is. That's it. Larry, the thinking man. And this is.
Oh, that's a nice picture.
So we're pretty. We're here to honor Larry, to celebrate his life, and how much he gave of himself and brought happiness to many, many, many people. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So hopefully everybody can see everyone. I think there's about 24 people. And anybody who wishes to start, just go ahead and say a story about Larry. Or
I'll
anything you want
start.
to say about Larry. Go ahead, Mike.
I met Larry in July of 2017. I was making visits after a clinic visit, and what was supposed to be a 15-minute visit ended up being 2 hours. And I immediately asked him to be a heart brother, and he and I had a friendship all that time. Larry was one of the most caring people that you'll ever meet. He went out of his way to make you feel welcome. And he always had his own spin on things. Every night when my dogs are laying on the bed with me, I used to talk to Larry, and he'd tell the dogs to get their asses off the bed or off the couch, or tell them to stop barking. And Lily is now 18 months old. So Larry met her when she was probably a year old because of COVID. But my dogs loved Larry. And Larry used to come to my house when my granddaughters are now almost 4 and almost 5.
Yeah.
When they were infants,
He
Larry
goes
used to come to
cry
the house,
a lot.
and we'd have lunch. He'd visit with the kids. He'd hold the kids. We always had a good time here. And the phone calls in the middle of the night were interesting, to say the least. And I don't know that I know another person as well as I knew him. So it's still not real that he's gone. And I still expect him to call me and, hey, brother Mike, what's going on? And I've saved a couple of recordings of his voice doing just that. So he's near and dear to my heart, even though he's physically gone. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Sorry for being so late. I had technical issues. I just want to wish a newcomer, McKinley, a happy heart anniversary. This is his 1-year anniversary, and he's one of our newest Team Art Brothers members, and he's going to be a great one. But today is his anniversary of 1 year, and I just want to say a little thing. He actually had the office across from ours at the building where we have our office for 2 years. So I knew McKinley long before he ever had heart failure, or he knew he had. But wishing him a happy heart anniversary. That's so everyone knows, and very good to have you here, McKinley.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And
Congratulations.
You didn't see, I got my shirt going.
Yeah, he's got a great. He's also written a book that's going to come out at the end of the month that we're going to put up on our website.
Actually, it's out now, but let's get back to Larry.
Sorry.
But thank you, Patrick, because I love hearing the stories about Larry, because they've been motivating and very fulfilling, hearing about his life, and as well as the impact that he's had on others. So let's keep this train rolling.
Okay, great. Yeah, who's that? Someone raise their hand, but they're muted. They're muted, right?
How's everybody doing? I'm Larry's brother, Andre. Just quick, just a short conversation. I'd just like to thank everybody for welcoming him into the Heart Brothers. And I know for sure he's smiling right now and saying that you guys got a lot of work to do. Y'all been sitting back, being lazy. That was him. That was him joking around, saying stuff like that. But
Yeah.
we dearly miss him. We love him, and we know his work will continue to go forward, doing the great things that he has done. So I'd just like to thank the Hart brothers on behalf of the Williams family, and of course Susan. And we miss him dearly.
We do too. We do too, but I know that's family's family is so tough.
Thank you.
Who was raising their hand up there?
Lynn Sylvia, please.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Like Mike, I still wait for that phone call from Larry. I just had a birthday last week, and it just didn't seem complete without getting that call that just said, "Hey, girl, how's your birthday?" So to me, I'm sure, like many of you, it just doesn't seem real. Like many of the people on this chat too, like Tappan, I see is here, and Jen from the Cath Lab, and Annie and Caitlin. Larry started as a patient for all of us, but he became a great friend. And it's unusual to befriend someone and see them almost every day for 300 plus consecutive days. And that was the case for us. When Larry was admitted prior to his transplant, he had that long run, 360 days before he was transplanted. And during that time, many of us saw him on a daily basis. And I was one of those people. And the thing I most remember about Larry is I would walk into the room, and my job was to try to figure out how I could help him relative to his medications. He was on so many serious medications, and he had so many side effects, whether it was pain from being in bed long term, or whether it was tremors from some of his meds, or clots from the VAD. I was always challenged with which med is helping and which is hurting. And every time I went in that room to get Larry's perspective, just to get a sense of, how could I help him and what could he tell me about his problems, he would always make me feel better. He had this amazing ability to raise your spirits. And what I will most remember about Larry is the amount of trust he had in me. Every time I went in his room, he didn't know the challenge that he presented to me. I've worked with a lot of patients, but Larry's course was so challenging. And I would walk in and I'd ask him questions to try to figure out, what's ailing you, and which medication might we need to pull back on, and which one might we need to introduce to make the pain better. And every time, and Susan knows this, he would look at me and he'd say, "I have trust in you, Lynn. You're going to figure this out. I know you're going to figure this out." And I would walk out of the room and I would say, "For God's sake, Larry, I hope I can figure this out, because your body is a mystery." And I think, what I will remember most about Larry is that powerful trust. And I think his ability to have that amount of trust in someone just drives you, and it builds a bond. And it built a bond that lasted far beyond those 300 days. It lasted until the day he died, when I visited him in the ICU. And I hoped that he heard me, and I hoped that he felt my presence. And I know for sure that he felt so loved.
Thank you, Lynn. It's a different perspective. And I'll go ahead. When I first walked in the room with Bob, Mike actually told us, "We want to make this guy a heart brother." But to that point, we hadn't really made someone on an LVAD a heart brother yet, because we had made a decision that part of the journey had to be so focused on getting better and staying strong, on just staying strong and getting better, that we didn't think putting added pressure on someone that would take it, someone like Larry to take it to that level, was necessarily healthy. But the minute we walked in that room, he made us to laugh. He made us start laughing. And we were there about 3 hours. We thought it'd be 15 minutes, all because he is a unique person I've met in my life. He is just, I know he's watching over us. And from that time forward, I probably talked to him minimum once a week, but a lot of times it was, many times a week. Because I gotta say, Larry, of all our Team HeartBrothers ambassadors, Larry made more contacts than anyone. I mean, yeah, Mike made a lot. I made hundreds and hundreds, but Larry just took it to a new level because he not only just recruited, but he lived with you and all those out here that know. And every time I talked to him, it started out with something laughing. And like I talked to him, he was really sick when he had COVID. I talked to him as much as he wanted. I left it up to him, but it was quite often. And but we would get into a conversation about a challenge we got, and he'd go, Pat, we're gonna do this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing, man. Don't worry about a thing, man. We got it. We got it. You got it. And he was just so inspiring into our whole mission that I can honestly say I know that far more than are on this call, I've felt a deep, deep, deep loss, and far deeper than I think we ever could have imagined in any one individual on the essence and the spirit of the HeartBrothers and the concept and the mission. So I just I know that Susan was right behind him and his family were always hearing about us, but we got to tell you to the family members that so many people on this call, and like the 10 people that just said, I'm so sorry I can't get on, so sorry I can't get on, that he meant so much to all of us. And he was, he was a unique in my whole lifetime of meeting someone. And we crossed all kinds of boundaries in our conversations about racism, about past racism, and what we can do about future. And it's some things that really he made me understand far more than I've ever been able to understand, especially what's going on today. He was that boundary that you could cross without, he and I could cross without thinking a thing about it. And that's pretty unique. It's pretty unique. And I've got tears in my eyes right now. I miss those conversations. I miss those phone calls. And I miss him telling me all about all the people that he's talked to and how much they need us. And I'll stop at that point. Sorry.
I first met Larry when he was in the hospital before his transplants. And I think it was probably 6-7 months after the first time I met him when he got transplanted. And to what Pat was saying, he was very unique. And he, even with the conversations you could have about race, he had this perspective, and it was always a smile, and you could joke about it. I walked into the room when we had the HeartBrothers opening, and I had a good tan. I'm not supposed to have the tan, but I had a tan going. I walk up and he looks and he goes, "Oh, hey, Donnie, good to see you got some color." And everybody stops and they start to laugh. And it's just the way he was, and that joke goes even beyond that. But I mean, it was comical. And, as much as when you went to visit him early on, as you were trying to help him, in some ways, he was helping you as well. It was just his personality and the way he was with people. And then the surprise phone calls, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And there's Larry, and you start talking, and half an hour later, you're still going, or even longer. He meant a lot to me. I visited him many times when he was in the hospital. And it was one thing that he did. he didn't realize how much he helped me. Because anybody who goes through these transplants struggles emotionally just from the nature of the transplants. And I had been given a prayer blanket by these folks that knew my wife and whatnot. And that was like a security blanket for me. And when Larry was in ICU, this was before he got his transplants, it really wasn't looking good. I brought him that security blanket and I left it. And for me, that was, I was passing it on to somebody else, and it helped me get beyond that stage that I was in after my transplants. And it goes a long ways. Just the conversation you have and being able to do that for somebody like him, because you know what he was doing for other people as well. And the other thing, when he was in on Prat 8, was that big teddy bear. Boy, that was something. That was almost as big as he was. And you know, in ending, I'd like to pass on my condolences to Larry's family. I see his brother and obviously Susan, who I haven't had a chance to really say hello. So my condolences, please. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
John, that the dog, the bear is a dog. And his name is Cedric. And his
We
name
thought it
is
was a
Cedric.
bear too.
And I brought him in to him on Larry on Valentine's Day in 2018. And he had an honored place in the corner,
Yes.
along with the television and the disco ball. So
It was
We
almost
still
as big as
don't,
he
we
was.
still don't know who gave him the outfit, Cedric's outfit. We still never found out who bought the outfit for Cedric. Anyone gonna fess up?
no, wait a minute.
The scrubs.
Oh no, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, we don't either.
I have no idea.
No, nobody knows.
Well, I'm
So
going
just
back in my corner.
one day the dog had scrubs on and we have no clue who did it.
Hi, everyone. I guess I'll say a couple words. It's always so great to see you guys band together. And I know I didn't get to take care of Larry, which I know I've taken care of many of you, but Larry was not one of them. But I did get to meet you guys and meet Larry through the organization. And it's just always so special to me to see the way you have all banded together. You know, Pat, it just really brought tears to my eyes when you kicked off the meeting by celebrating a heart anniversary. So, you know, it is always sad when we lose a loved one. But if there's anyone who lived his life to the fullest, it definitely was Larry. Larry, it just had an incredible ability to put a smile on everybody's face. And he really always lit up a room whenever he walked into it. So I know that you guys are going to continue to carry Larry's memory forward. And I just want to say that it's just incredible what you've developed here as a community. So keep relying on each other. And, you know, as a nurse practitioner and having, you know, really traveled with some of you through your journeys, it's just so great to see the way you're all giving forward like this and the way that you've really built a community around your experiences and what you've been through. So of course I love you all. It's always so good to see all your faces and celebrate your heart anniversaries and your kids' weddings and all the other exciting things you always let me know about. And, you know, I'm so blessed to be a part of all your journeys. I feel blessed to be a part of Larry's journey. I just want to say to Larry's family, I know I didn't get a chance to ever meet you, but Larry, what a guy. You are so lucky to have had him. We're so lucky to have had him. So thanks for sharing him with us. As always, it's just so great to always be here and continue to see all your successes as a community. So keep it up, guys. And, you know, to Larry.
Well, I'll go. If I'm up, I don't know if I'm up. Am I up?
Who is this? I'm sorry.
Bullet.
Yes, hi. My name is
Hi.
Bullet. I've been a friend of Larry's since his first day at FedEx.
What they call
This big guy happened to walk in, and
Bullet.
now I'm 6'2", and I just looked up like this. And we were friends since day one. And all of us had nicknames. There was TC. I don't know if he's on here, but he was a part of the trio. It was myself, and everyone called him, well, I called him Big Dog. Never called him Larry. It was Big Dog, I was Bullet, and the other guy was TC. And up until he passed, I was Bullet, he was Big Dog, and so I had the pleasure of knowing him. I've known Sue very well, been at their house. And I thought I was very special because, you know, he used to call me, but come to find out, I was one of the many people he called because I've been hearing, you know, people saying he was on the phone with him at night, in the morning, in the middle of the night. He would always call me, or else I would always call him, and we followed up. Well, Larry, way back when, used to be in law enforcement, and I always wanted to be in law enforcement. So I went back after my career at FedEx, and I got my master's degree in law enforcement, and I became a Rhode Island state sheriff. And I've been there now for a bit over 10 years now. And Larry called me on the day I graduated, and he was very thrilled that, you know, that I accomplished my goal. And yeah, we've remained friends. You know, and he never complained. I've been through many of his family tragedies with his son passing. He never really complained. It was always in God's hands, and he never really complained. And one of the highlights that I had was after he passed away, I actually met his family, his whole family at the service. And what I'm going to tell you, I've never been to a more emotional, fun, fun. His family was fantastic. And I think it was Andre. I'm not sure. I can see you there. I'm not sure if Andre's the pastor, but if he is, when I die.
Nah, that's Kevin.
All right, Kevin. I want Kevin at my service, because, and the whole family. They were all. That's a big family, I'll tell you. Big family, but it was the best, and I am not lying to you. That was the best send off of any service. I've been to Jewish ones, I've been to Baptist ones, Catholic ones. This was by far the best send off. That's how I want to go. It was the best send off. A lot of funny stories, a lot of true, funny stories. It was real. It wasn't really sad. It was all right from the heart. But speaking of heart, you know, the Hart brothers, they named a room after him at the hospital, a conference room, and he wanted me to be there so bad. But unfortunately, fortunately for me, I was vacationing in Italy, and I couldn't make it back. But I was very, very, very proud of him, and I'm just shocked at how many friends and how many people he touched. And I I'm not one to talk this long. I'm not a big, Sue will tell you, I'm not a big talker. But he was, he was our big dog, and he always told me every time we said goodbye to each other, always.
Thank you, Bullet.
Always told me
He loved you. He did.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bullet.
All right. Ann Malin, she's had her hand up for a while, so go ahead.
Hi,
Ann.
Susan.
Hi, honey.
My name's Annie Malin. I was a nurse who worked with Larry up through 2018 until I went somewhere else. And so I just want to say thank you very much for thinking of me and including me, because Larry, as a nurse, had a big impact on my life. It's not a normal nurse-patient relationship, as a lot of you know, when you're living in a hospital, especially as long as Larry had. The first time I ever met Larry, somebody just asked me to help me with helping him stand. And they, the patient down here, would you be able to help me? And I said, sure, no problem. And I walked out, never met him before in my life. I helped him stand up, and then he just kept standing up. And I was like, I'm 5'2". I'm like, you just asked me? Oh, it made me laugh so hard. Larry was just one of those very special people. I always talk about him like he just had swag. Everything he did with confidence, and he just oozed with swag. And it was just really cool to watch. I worked night shifts typically. And unfortunately, as you all know, on night shifts, you don't sleep. You don't sleep during the day, but also you don't sleep during the night. And unfortunately, that's usually because of the nurse. So I really had a terrible job when you're working with the patient, but he was always just so kind and easygoing and relaxed about everything. And I appreciated that. The things that I know about him is that he knew every person, and he had a special relationship with everybody. Even the staff who came around at 7:30 at night, who just, emptied the trash, they knew him and he knew them, and they would stop in and sit with him for 30, 45 minutes and just chat with him. He just knew everybody. And I really appreciated that. And I talk about, his life had depth that nobody could ever reach to the bottom of. He just had so many lessons and so many things to talk about on so many different, topics. It was really fun to learn from him. And the thing that I picked up from him, and I don't even know if he meant to do this, but, there's a difference between happiness and joy. And, being happy is I feel like even in the hardest places and the darkest places and the saddest news and the difficulties, he just had, he was able to help bring the joy to all the different pieces. And it was just really remarkable. And I appreciated that about him. I struggle as a nurse a lot. Like, did I do this right thing? Did I say the right thing? Did I advocate for my patient as well as I should have? And I think Lynn touched on it, the trust that he had in you. It was really remarkable. And he just wanted to really rise up to that occasion. And I just really appreciated my experience with him. And thank you again for including me. And thank you, Susan, for sharing him with me for as long as you did. So thank you.
Thanks, Annie. I can say, having been taken care of many of the long nights at Tufts, you did great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, I see you have your hands up.
Yes, and I think I'll jump on the Pratt 8 train as long as right after Annie in the nursing aspect. Again, thank you for including me. This means so much to me to share my story, and along with all of you. And Susan as well. Thanks for sharing Larry with us. And it's so hard, as we all, he's still gone, because I think with everything he's done, it still feels like he's here. And I won't take up too much time, because you basically have all touched upon every aspect I wanted to speak about. But a couple things I'll miss about him. There's a lot I'll miss about him. But again, as a nurse, you try and, on our floor, it gets really busy and you want to spend special time with every single patient and, really understand them. But Larry was one that if you went in the room, you had to have a plan because you weren't getting out without a story. You get trapped in there in the best way possible. And you'd forget that you have, 30 other things you need to do. But you didn't want to leave because you were going to leave with being better off than when you went in. I've known him, I'll probably start crying. I remember him from the very first time he was at Tufts. So I feel like we've had a long legacy together. He used to, FaceTime me and talk to my son a lot. Even my son, who's 5, would say, "How's Larry doing? Is he still in the hospital? How's he doing?" So his outreach even reached that far. And a few things to remember him by: every time he came in for admission, before even settling him, he'd ask about other patients and how they were doing. That's how selfless he was. He probably came in super sick and he's asking if so-and-so's okay, or I talked to him last week and I'm like, "Larry, let's get you settled first. You're getting admitted." He always was worried about everybody else and wanted to make sure they were doing okay. And that's just amazing to me for someone coming in and everything he's been through, that he's still thinking about others first. And a couple humorous things to remember him by: Prat 8 will never be as musical as it was when Larry was there. Anytime I hear loud music in the hallway, even now, I want to turn around and wish I could see his super long legs over the stretcher being admitted, just because as long as I didn't want him to be admitted, I knew that it would be, there'd be good music, at least when he went for walks. For any test, his phone was blaring. And to speak to all the phone calls, Susan, I'm sure your phone bill, I hope you got unlimited minutes, because
We did.
and many chargers, because his phone was never off, whether it be music, talking to someone, always had music playing. And in the middle of the night, if you couldn't sleep, go down and listen to, some tunes together. And that's one thing I always remember about him. And I'll just say that also, as some of you the patients that have visited on Prat 8, the food will never be as good as when Larry was in the hospital. That was the one thing. As soon as he got admitted, he's on the phone with the kitchen, asking what they're going to do, making sure everybody got what they wanted. A lot of improvement went through him, and we're going to miss that. I know the other patients will, but he was an amazing, amazing man. And I miss him so much. So I'll leave the floor for anybody else. I mean, we could all go all night with all these stories, so let someone else take the floor.
Yes, we could. Jennifer.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Jennifer, I see you have your hand up. You're on mute. Oh, there-
Okay. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yep.
So Larry, just like everybody else, Larry has a special place in my heart. I was an ICU nurse as a new grad, and I was ready to quit because everybody else was bullying me. The other nurses were like, "Listen, you can't do this." And I came in and I took care of Larry. And that night, I was like, "I'm going to quit nursing. I will never be a nurse again. I'm done. It's not my thing. I'm not into it." I had Larry that night, and I remember the CCU was closed. I was in the MICU, and Larry had his aviators on. He had his music blaring. And that night, I was like, after taking care of him, I was like, okay, this is why I'm a nurse. This is why. And every moment after that, Larry had continued to support me and tell me, you're the best cath lab nurse, you're the best CCU nurse. Like, he went above and beyond to make me feel like the most supported human ever. When he was going through the worst times. So I just want to say that he's the best of the best, and I know a lot of you feel that way. He's my support system, and I know he's all of your support systems too. But he's still here with us. Even when we feel like he's not, he's still here with us.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer. If it's okay, I would like to say, I mean, I have many stories of Larry, but again, Larry had he was very impactful in my treatment. I was in Tufts, and they wanted to convince me that I needed an LVAD. And the concept of somebody putting a hole in the bottom of your heart and sewing a pump onto it just didn't settle with me. I was an engineer, and that wasn't what you did with people's hearts, is put a hole in it. So I think I actually was talking with she's on the call, Jen, and I said, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. And she was very kind, and Jen, all the nurses on Prat 8 I mean, if you've ever stayed there, it's the closest thing to heaven. But Jen spoke with Ann Sino, and Ann took me over to Larry's room. And there's this guy, bigger than life. He's sitting there with an LVAD attached to him, and he's laughing, and he's carrying on, and he's got this biggest TV in his room, and you just say, wow, life is good. And so he spoke with me for a long time and really helped change my perspective on LVAD. And with about lunchtime, I'm getting ready to leave, and I see we all would get whatever the hospital ration was, but Larry has this special plate of noodles they bring in for him that I'm just drooling over it. And they bring it in, put it on his table, and he has the Ziploc bag, and he has pesto in it. He dumps it on it, and he's eating it. And I'm saying, how do I get any of this? I mean, but Larry was just phenomenal. And then here's what was the stranger thing was, Larry had his LVAD. I came in, I got my LVAD, I left. 2 months later, I came and got my transplant, and Larry was still there. And I felt ashamed of that Larry had been there before me, and I had gotten an LVAD, and I'd gotten a transplant, and he was still waiting. And I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to sort of bring this up. It was just whatever. And I ran into him in the hallway. He was walking down with music, and I think he poked his head in my room and said, congratulations on your transplant. And he was so gracious and so welcoming. I mean, I just can't say how much I miss him. You always knew all you had to do was make a phone call. And if you could get Larry on the other end, he was going to lift your spirit up.
He was always thrilled when someone else got their heart, even though he waited so long for his. Always thrilled when it was someone else.
I mean, I know that that guilt feeling because I felt guilty before longer with our brothers. I was so close with Bob and Steve Maskell, and I got my heart first, and they had both been longer than me, and I felt so guilty, and they were so thrilled for me. But as Bob said to me, and I told Larry that story, and Bob said, "No, that's what the HeartBrother's about." I said, "I know." I explained to him another story is, I explained to him where his TV. He had a big TV. I said that's Sammy's, and not many other people will know that. Lynn certainly will. That was Sammy, who had a very similar effect on Prat 8 as Larry. I think it's the only person that I can compare the impact of Larry's impact. But he was a young man, 21 years old, and unfortunately he didn't make it. And it was a loss to the floor. Like, I know many doctors I've talked to since, and nurses, as soon as you mention Sammy's name, they get a tear in their eye. And that was Sammy's mother brought that TV in, and it was Larry was the best recipient to carry that on. It was great. It was like a gift from Sammy to him. And when I told Larry the story, he started crying. He just started crying. So I'm so happy you told me that. So happy you told me that. It's just he was so open to the other feelings and other people's feelings. And I'll just say one other little story. I know that Bob, we used to go in and see him individually or together. But I think Bob, the first couple of times Bob went in to meet him, he was totally irreverent in other ways. I think both times Bob went in to see him after that, our first meeting, Larry was naked. He was standing there naked. And he'd just say, come on in. Just come on in. Yeah. It was so funny.
He embraced his nakedness.
Yeah. And Bob was like, oh, is it? You all right? Yeah. Come on in.
Come on in.
Susan, I'm happy to hear that about my brother-in-law.
I knew you would be, Sharon.
The first couple times I saw him, he was
yeah,
and it was just like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sue was there, but
oh, God.
He always used to refer to the nurses as shiny hiney. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Shiny hiney.
Shiny hiney.
The third time I visited him, he was
Shiny
fully
honey.
clothed, and I'm like, you're dressed.
Yeah. I think Bob was wondering if he ever got clothes on.
No. Even at home, no. Neighbors would knock on the door, he'd say, come on in, and she'd just have like his underwear on or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah, I don't even like looking at myself in it. He didn't care.
I just wanted to share something. My grandson is here with us, and he called Larry Pops. And he taught him how to tie his shoes and how to tie a tie. And just recently, Gabriel was in basketball and his number happened to be 41. And I said to him, I says, that number is very familiar. I think that Pops was number 41 when he played in school. And I think I remember, Andre, I asked you and you said, no, he was 44. Well, I did find a picture of him in his scrapbook where he was number 41. And so we have just a picture. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is Larry in his uniform with 41. And then Gabriel with his number 41. And it was totally coincidental that they both had that number, but Gabriel wanted me to share that with all of you. He's very proud of that.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, Uncle John is there. Yeah, Uncle John. Oh.
Anybody else have anything they would like to share about Larry? As long as somebody wants to talk about it, I'm going to keep this line open.
You know, I just have one question for Susan, and I just want to make sure I remember this correctly and I'm on my way home, so I hope you don't mind the cars. But he used to talk a lot about you, and as I said, he had swag. Did he send a quartet to your work? Do I remember that correctly?
He embarrassed me so many ways. Yes, he sent a quartet to work. for Valentine's Day, and they came in and they were all gathered around me singing all these love songs, and the whole office came out to hear, and the women were very, very jealous. Another time he sent a heart-shaped pizza for Valentine's Day. He went specially to the pizza place and asked them if they could make one in the shape of a heart, and they did. And actually, years after that, they started selling those for Valentine's Day. He sent me a Cupid shaped dough with sandwiches and vegetables and things to make the bow and the arrow and all that. One year, he had a book made of us, a whole storybook made, and he had homemade chocolate covered strawberries and bouquet of flowers and the whole bit, all delivered to me at work. He was always doing something like that, but yes, he did, Annie. He sent the quartet, yeah.
That is
And I
my
had-
favorite story.
And I always said to him, I have nothing. I had not I could not think of one nice thing that I could do for him. And he always was doing, I'm sure there may be somebody that remembers the ring, the
Oh, yeah.
Christmas that he gave. Yeah, they gave me the ring. That was, yeah,
That was special.
that was very, very special. He gave me we did everything backwards.
Yeah.
We got the wedding band, and then we got the diamond, and then we got married, and we did everything backwards. But he was always doing something very, very special. I just miss him terribly, just terribly. And I'm sorry I haven't been able to talk to people on the phone, because this is usually what happens. I tried just to kind of text right now. I still can't have a whole conversation on the phone without starting to blubber. But I really appreciate everybody doing this tonight. He was the love of my life, and I miss him so much.
Well, he always referred to you as the queen.
That he did. And he treated me like one every minute.
He did.
Every single minute. We never had a bad day. In all the years we were together, never had a bad day.
Thanks, Susan. Now
Susan,
I
he
have
loved
to-
you so much. He always would talk about you. And what I wonder is, how many containers of puff pastry do you have in your freezer? Because Larry always told me that I wasn't really a cook until I learned how to master puff pastry.
Oh my God.
I still haven't, but I think of him every time I go by the freezer in the grocery store.
Always had puff pastry in the freezer. He was always making something. Oh dear God. I mean, I can cook, but I miss him cooking. It was so nice to have that burden off of me that he used to cook.
He always used to share all his recipes and all these, he's like, no, this is how you got to do it. You got to get this, you got to just a little bit of this. And it actually was, it was amazing because he, with obviously in heart failure, all the different restrictions with sodium and all, but he, as many of you know, kind of find a way around it, but he really took it to that extra level of making food really taste good and not having that be a burden with his disease. And he shared it with everyone, and even tried to get staff with sending us recipes. He'd, critique my cooking. It's just funny from someone, in the hospital bed who's eating hospital food, who's, raving about his cooking and how he doctors everything up. And, he'd always order through the hospital, but have like I said, a little bit of pesto or a little bit, you got to dab this. And
oh God, how much stuff did he have in his room?
Yeah.
He had all kinds of condiments and everything.
Oh yeah, his fridge
in
was
his room.
always full.
Yeah.
Oh,
When we first met, he came into my office. He was working for FedEx, and we got talking about food and all that. And he brought me in a strudel that was made. Oh, Bullet, I don't know if you remember, if he ever talked to you about it. Oh, Andre, you would know, the strudel made from cabbage. And he's telling me how delicious this strudel is, made with cabbage. There was no way in hell I was eating that strudel. He brought one in for me, and he would ask me, did you try it? Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I just couldn't bring myself to try it. It was absolutely delicious when I did. It tasted like apple strudel. He had raisins in it and all this. It was absolutely delicious, but he couldn't make anything. He made everything taste good. He really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one other thing, he always asked the techs and the nurses to heat up his food. And, we'd always take it, bring it down in the microwave, but he would tell you how long to put it
Oh,
in
yeah.
the microwave.
Yeah,
if anyone
6
else
minutes.
remembers.
6 minutes was
Oh
the
my
big
God.
one. Yeah.
And
He
I'm
did
like,
that at home too.
It's gonna blow up. It's
6
gonna
minutes.
light on fire. Nope,
Yeah.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
And if it was
6
any less,
minutes, I would put it on for 3. And
Yep.
did you have it on for 6? Yes.
yeah, he knows.
6
He knew.
minutes. Yes. Yeah.
He knew. You could see all
You
the
would have to
techs
go
walking
back
into
in
the
because it
hall.
wasn't hot.
Yeah.
You couldn't even touch it. It was so hot.
No,
I don't know how he ate it.
I don't either.
Oh, dear God. He was a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. We never had, like I said, never had a bad day. We always had a lot of laughs. I miss him every single second. I miss him.
I'm sure you do. He, the last time I was in for a post-transplant visit last year, I got pneumonia, and Larry called every day, but he called the first day and he said, "I'm calling the chef." I said, "What?" He said, "Could take this number down." It was a different number than 6222, 62222, which is the number to call for, food. Anyway, he had the chef come up into my room, ask what I like, how then he called Larry back. Larry told him how to make it. And then Larry would call the next day. "How was your meal last night? How was your breakfast? How was your lunch?" And every day he'd call me a couple times. "How was the food? What'd they do wrong? Who delivered it?" And it was just this it was a huge thing to me. And it seemed like a little thing to him. But I don't know anyone else that would have done that. We don't do that for all our patients, but he would. It was like, it was great because all the food was so much better than normally got. And he made sure that they took special care of me. And I think he overinflated the importance of it and all that stuff. But it was just something that no one else would think of and no one else would do.
And the food was not that good on Friday when we were there, Pat.
Yeah.
Except for once a week, once a month, they had a little special thing, but.
But he made it not for this day. It was the best I've ever had it. So.
The only time the food was good was the day after you got your transplant. All of a sudden it came, it had to be prepared special and put in plastic, and it was an entirely different ballgame right after you got the transplant because they were so cautious about the bacteria, and then you had no worries about the salad or anything else.
Yep.
I remember the first time that I met Susan and Larry. I was coming out of clinic. He was first in heart failure and getting ready to get put in the hospital. And it was just a real quick meeting. I didn't think much of it. Hi, oh yeah, great, had a transplant. We talked for a couple minutes. Nothing really to think much of. But boy, he never forgot that. And as soon as he mentioned it, I remembered. But it wasn't the first thing on my mind when I saw him in the hospital bed. But boy, he knew, and he just had that unique gift to remember everybody and something about you when he saw you a second time, which was pretty special.
Hey, Susan, could I just ask one quick question? What can we do to best honor him? Like, I know that in my conversations with Larry, I'm sure with Mike as well, he talked about a memoir and writing down his journey. And I don't know if those papers are anywhere that they can be compiled or put together to tell a story. I just can't sit here not doing more. And I just need to do something. And I just don't. What are your thoughts?
Well, he did write the book that he was always talking about that he was going to write. We had sent it to a friend of a friend who was editing it, and she said she thought it had to be a lot longer, like double what it was. And I thought it was fine the way it was, the way we had it. So I would like to finish the book and self-publish it if that's what I have to do. And I think maybe Pat may have mentioned that it could go on the website, the Hart
Yeah.
Brothers website.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think once I get myself somewhat settled, I guess you could say, I would like to finish his book. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else. I've been racking my brains trying to think of maybe something else that I could do. But like I said, I always was like, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. I can never think of anything. But I mean, if anyone has any ideas, that would be wonderful.
You don't need to finish it. If it's what Larry wanted, it was 50 pages.
Right, right.
Let's just put it up. Because I know it was
Okay.
he did it in the patients, in honoring patients.
Mhm.
And can think of nothing better. If it's 50 pages and he can do that, that's fine. I know, McKinley's coming out with his book. We know a lot of people. And we put those, but his is different. Also want to let you know, Susan, this honorarium tonight is not the end of it. Our patient support group is saying onward in memory of Larry Williams. So it's not going to end with this one night.
Thank you.
We all talked about it, and we talked about different ways we can say it. And we haven't come to the end one, but I just want you to know that it doesn't end right here. It
Thank
doesn't
you.
end right here in honoring Larry.
You've all been so wonderful. His greatest honor was being a hot brother.
I know that we have that picture you sent me of we gave him the award last year, and that
He was so proud, so proud. He loved everybody. He really did. He loved you all. And when I say he loved you, I mean he really, the word love, he really loved you all. I used to say he had 500 best friends. I used to kid him all the time. He was on the phone constantly. That bed was in between. That phone was in between us in bed. He always had that damn phone on. And I couldn't stand it. I say, headphones, Larry, headphones. The whole neighborhood could hear his conversations. He was so damn loud. But he truly, he loved with all his heart. He really did. And, his family, his friends, everybody. I thank you so much for doing this for him and for the way you felt about him. He was an amazing person. He really was.
Yep.
McKinley,
I just thank you all.
thank you, Susan. McKinley, I see you've raised your hand. Would you like to speak?
Yes, I wanted to direct this to Bethany and, heartfelt concern for your loss. I never had a chance to meet Larry, but the messages that are here and the love is obvious.
We lost him.
We lost him. McKinley, we lost you, buddy. He'll come back.
He'll come back.
I just want to say that Larry's sister Linda is on also. Hi, Linda. I just saw you there.
Yeah, I'll text McKinley.
Mhm.
While we're waiting for McKinley, anybody else wish to say something?
I'll just jump in really quick. I have to go put the kiddos to bed, but in speaking to these amazing stories and for any patients that are writing books about their experience and feel like if they're even finished or published or whatever, we still have a lot of patients on Prat 8 that end up waiting for transplant. And if you guys are okay with it or think it would be appropriate, we would love when it's done to have copies of those that maybe patients could read while they're in the hospital for some inspiration as well. Instead of
That
watching.
was Larry's intent. That was his intent to have them at the hospital so that patients could read it while they were waiting. And it was, kind of their journey too.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a way to continue, he was always so positive and would continue his legacy as well. And, our nursing staff can speak to that and say, hey, if you're feeling, worried or scared about what's going on and you read this book about a patient that, really inspired hundreds of people. So I would just say from a nursing standpoint, we would absolutely love that.
No, thank you.
So, and
Thank you.
Susan, I am thinking of you all the time and wish you and your family the best. You guys were so lucky to have, loved such an amazing man. And he's, as we all know, he's touched a lot of lives.
Thank
And I
you,
wish you
Jen.
all the best.
McKinley,
Thank you.
McKinley's back on.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch the computer this time. So,
Okay.
but what I was saying was, one point that Patrick had made a little earlier was that each of us that have gone through this journey has a different story, and actually is a book in itself. In the book, and you have to look at it that the book is a message that can go out to individuals, it can go to nurse, it can go to a lot of different audiences, and each of them will benefit from it. So depending on who you spoke to, who was the editor, they may have been looking at it from a venue of a science reader or who knows where their background is. And Patrick made a great point of saying that a pamphlet or a booklet that's 50 pages could be the most impactful 50 pages that somebody needs to read. So you want to look at it more that it's what is being delivered. And you and I can talk offline because I did the self-publishing. I have a lot of resources available, and I'm more than happy
Okay.
to help you out. So we'll take that offline. That was it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's online now? There's a new person, right? And so hi, Shayla.
Hey, Pat.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Welcome. Great to see
Thank
you.
you. I'm sorry I'm late.
Great to see your face.
It's great to see everyone's face. I know it's been a while.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah. Well, I'll share too, because like Jen, I might have some bedtime routines to get to soon, but I didn't know Larry all that well. We had met a few times at mostly HeartBrothers events, but the one outstanding memory was, I think it was the Family Feud, and I'd met him a few times. We walked into like the ballroom area, and I don't know if there was like assigned seating or what. I was with my husband, and I stopped at his table, and I was like, "Oh, is there assigned seats, or you know?" And he's like, "Yeah, your seat's right here." And it was just the way he responded to me, and just like welcomed me, right next to everyone at the table he was at, and it's just that is always the one thing I think of when I think of Larry, and that's the way he was every time I saw him. It's so inclusive, and it didn't matter, if he knew somebody really well or just, somebody like me, or maybe even somebody he'd met one time. He just seemed always so welcoming and warm, and like he was instantly their best friend. And of course, that's such a good feeling, So, sorry, my dog is listening. So that's, that is that memory that sticks out for me.
Thank you, Shayla.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
Hello, I'm Larry's sister, Linda. How are you guys?
Hello.
Thank you all so much for this honorary. My brother was a great inspiration, not only to myself and others, but anytime I called him on the phone, he was able to help me. I have a pacemaker. My friends or other people whom I've known needed help, I will call Larry and Larry would assist. I just found out yesterday that one of my old associates I haven't seen in a while had a heart attack, and she's only 47. And I really wish Larry would have got to know her or was able to speak to her, because she's going through a challenging time. She's now recuperating. So I spoke to her late last night, and it's funny how this meeting was coming aboard. I wanted her to jump in, but she wasn't able to do that. She started back to work. But I just want to say to you guys, thank you all so much. I know how much Larry really loved the HeartBrothers. He always spoke about you guys, no matter anytime I spoke to him, he always managed to get you guys in that conversation. So once again, thank you all so very, very much. It's really appreciated. And I love you, Susan. I've been calling her, so I know she's going through much.
I love you
Bethany.
too.
Yeah.
I'll call you when I go cry through the whole conversation.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know, but
It's okay. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
just can't seem to get myself together.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Just one thing for Susan, I included my contact information directly to you.
Thank you. Yeah,
problem.
thank you very much. My daughter got it for me. Thanks.
Mike, do you want to close this out? Michael Ashworth?
I'm trying to turn on my microphone. I think I just did.
You did.
Yeah, you
No,
got it.
no, thank you all for coming on. Larry was an incredible person. I don't know that any of us will have the honor and pleasure of knowing somebody as nice as he was. And he could be mean and mad, I can tell you that. But
no,
genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. So I'm kind of at a loss for words here because
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you. I can tell you this, now I have a new goal. I have a new aspiration to live a life. So when I go, people will say what they say about Larry about me.
well, you know, the day that he died, and I put it on Facebook, I said something like, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world.
Yeah.
Larry was the world to a lot of people.
Yes, he was.
And he positively tried to make a difference in somebody's life every day. I think he did a pretty good job doing that. I'm not as good a person as he is. I wish I could be, but I'm not. And I miss my friend. And that's all for me.
Thank you. I think someone said when I told them the news, they just put up the summer thing and said, the earth just stood still. It did. But he would want us all to move on in his honor. And I'm going to do exactly emulate his life, but I'll never live up to that, I know.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially his
Thank
family.
you. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate
Thank you.
all of you doing this.
Sure.
Good night. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good night, people.
Good
Good
night.
Good night.
Night. Thank you all,
Oh my God.
family members.
Thank you.